Hello my darlings, my name is Stephanie and welcome to my series on the ghost stories and spooky tales of Britain. This series is a brief and short look at some of the haunted places in Britain and the spooky ghost stories attached to them. So we have another haunted Scottish castle and ghostly legend today. I particularly love the Scottish ghost stories and the haunted castles that they have. They're always so mysterious and fascinating. Duntrune Castle is a 12th century Scottish baronial castle. Overlooking Loch Crinan, it is situated in Argyll. It is one of the oldest continually occupied castles in the Highlands. It was originally built by the MacDougall clan in the 12th century to guard the surrounding countryside against raiders from across the sea, before eventually being taken over by the Campbell clan. The castle was a well-known seat of the Campbell clan for 5 centuries. The Campbells sold Duntrune in 1792, and the castle is now owned by the current clan chief of the Malcolm clan, Robin Malcolm. There is a famous legend regarding this very old castle, the legend of the Phantom Piper of Duntrune. We have to go way back to 1615 when the feuding between the Campbell clan and the MacDonald clan was at its most intense during the English Civil War. In very basic terms, because it's kind of complicated, the Civil War was kicked off between King Charles I and his Parliament, who disagreed with him. Charles decided to dissolve his Parliament and rule without them, but the country just descended into a civil war. It didn't end well for Charles. He was eventually defeated and executed, beheaded for high treason. I won't go too much into the Civil War, as I said, it's very complicated. I don't know that much about it. But despite their best efforts, Scotland was drawn into the struggle. The Scottish clans weren't all on the same side though. King Charles I's royalist Scottish army was supported by many clans, including the MacDonalds. On the opposing team, the parliamentarians, or the Covenanters, was the Campbells. This led to an armed conflict in the Highlands between the MacDonalds and the Campbells. This wasn't a new argument though. The two clans had been fighting for hundreds of years. They really did not like each other. The MacDonald clan was led by the fearsome Sir Alistair MacDonald. He was a master of warfare, said to be 6 foot 6 inches tall, though that may likely be just an exaggeration, and he was deadly. He's often known by the name Colkito, I hope I'm saying that right, or sometimes anglicised to Colkito, but in fact that nickname actually belonged to his father, Col MacDonald. I will continue referring to him as Colkito in this video, as that seems to be the name that he's kind of most known for. As I said, Colkito was brutal during battles. He had helped the McIntyre clan during a battle, and in thanks for his assistance, the clan chief gave Colkito his favourite piper to accompany him on his battle campaign. Colkito continued through Argyll and eventually arrived at Duntrune Castle. He heard that most of the Campbells were away from the castle, and he wanted to take that opportunity to take Duntrune Castle from the Campbells. He set his plan in motion. In a night raid, his men surprised the few Campbells that were there and defeated them. Colkito left a small band of his men, along with his piper, at the castle to hold down the fort while he sailed off to continue his battle campaign. While he was away though, the Campbells of Duntrune fought back and they retook the castle, and they killed every member of the MacDonald clan except for Colkito's piper. Back then, pipers were very important people. They were well educated and held high positions in the chief's household. When going into battle, they would stand alone and pipe the men onward, inspiring them forward in battle. As he was a privileged and well-regarded person, the piper's life was spared. But the piper was very loyal to his chief, and he knew that when his clan returned, they would run straight into an ambush at the castle. He knew that he had to come up with a way of warning Colkito of the impending danger. He kept an eye out for Colkito's returning boat, and when it was spotted, the piper asked for permission to play a song that he had prepared in honour of his leader's return, which is known as the piper's warning to his master. The Gaelic name of the song is very long and impossible for me to pronounce, so I'll put it on screen. The piper started playing. The sound of his mournful bagpipes floated over the sea, and Colkito realised that there was something strange going on, that there was something odd about the melody that he was hearing. The piper had intentionally played some of the notes wrong in an effort to send a warning message. Colkito strained his eyes to try and see what was happening at the castle. All he could see was the lonely piper silhouetted against the sky. Where were his men, who should have been gathered down at the shore to greet their leader? He listened to the melody and thought it was unusual that the piper, who was very accomplished and talented, would make mistakes in his playing. He soon understood the piper's intent. He ordered his men to turn the boat around. The Campbells realised that the loyal MacDonald piper had managed to warn his leader. As punishment, they cut off his hands, and the piper eventually died from loss of blood. Since then, the warning sounds of the bagpipes has been heard skirling from the battlements. For hundreds of years there have been numerous stories of banging noises and flying objects heard and sighted at Duntrune Castle. People thought that the story of the piper was just a legend, a myth, just another Scottish ghost story. But a discovery was made that may prove that it might not just be a legend. In the late 1800s, repair work was being done at the castle. Ancient floor slabs were taken up, and suddenly the workmen were face to face with a skull looking up at them. They dug further, and the full skeleton was revealed. It was then removed when it was discovered that everything was there. The skull, the arms, the legs, the torso, everything except the hands. The master of the castle at the time, Dean Mapleton, an Episcopal bishop, arranged for an Episcopal burial outside the castle walls. A great-granddaughter of Dean Mapleton wrote to Robin Malcolm, the current castle owner, and told him that her mother, who would have been around 5 years old when the body was discovered, claimed that the piper's remains were laid to rest in an unmarked grave in Kilmartin churchyard. Could that be the reason why the piper's spirit is restless and has not found peace? Talking of Robert Malcolm, he firmly believes that the castle is haunted by the piper. Besides the bagpipes being heard, furniture has been seen moving on its own, and objects throw themselves at walls. Clocks stop at random times. Robin's dog often lets him and his wife know when something is passing. The Malcolm family seem comfortable, though, with their ghostly resident. The piper doesn't seem malevolent, he just seems a very sad, mournful spirit. Obviously, being a legend, there are a few variations of the story, and of course there will always be a bit of stretching of the truth, essentially. Some say that the piper was free within the castle, but he was ordered to play for the Campbells. Others say that he was imprisoned, but he managed to escape his cell and run up to the highest point to play his pipes before he was caught. Another version of the story has the piper being sent in as a spy, essentially, but he was found out and imprisoned. But the end result is always the same. The loyal piper playing a warning song to his chief and his men and saving their lives, but losing his in return. I would love to visit this castle. It is so beautiful. I would love to be there at night, below the castle. Maybe, maybe I'd see something. Maybe the ghostly figure of a piper and hopefully I would hear the mysterious haunting notes of the piper's warning to his master. I hope you enjoyed today's ghost stories. Which haunted place shall I look into next? Let me know down in the comments if you have any suggestions. Do you have any of your own ghost stories, any ghostly encounters that you've experienced? I want to hear about your spooky tales. So I talked about this about a year ago now, I think, but I've been wanting to start the series where I read your ghost stories, that you send in to me. So if you do have any spooky stories of your own, any ghosts that you think you might have come across, and you want to share them with me and are happy for me to read them out, please send them to the email below in the description. Once I have enough, I will hopefully do a video. For now, thank you for watching, and I hope you join me on my next video. Please give this one a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, stay spooky.